What's the best theory of well-being or philosophy to live by that makes one's life go best? On the one hand, there are theories of well-being that state only you get to decide what's best for your life, like preference hedonism, which I covered in a previous video. But on the other hand, perhaps there are things in the world that are objectively good for us to have or experience. For example, could there be a list of things like obtaining knowledge, having friends, feeling safe, having meaning in life, and more that could make not just our lives better, but everyone's life better? In other words, is it possible that there's a list of specific things that, if one obtains, will guarantee a good life, whether they want those things or not? This idea is called the objective list theory of well-being. And in this video, I'll first easily explain what it is, and then analyze if it's logically sound and the best philosophy for guaranteeing you live a good life today. Objective list theories are theories of well-being that list objective things that are intrinsically good for people when experienced or obtained in the person's life. These can be purely objective, like having children, or having a subjective nature to them, like finding a job that's meaningful to you. The idea that there are specific things good for everyone is not a new concept and dates back to the ancient Greeks, including Aristotle. Today, objective list theory is more alive than ever, with more and more philosophers, experts, and gurus espousing their lists of good-making things we need to have in our lives. So, what would be an objective list theory? Philosopher Derek Parfit suggested that perhaps moral goodness, rational activity, development of abilities, having children, being a good parent, knowledge, and awareness of true beauty are good for all people no matter what. Humanistic psychologist Abraham Maslow gave a hierarchy of needs that if one gets, that will guarantee a good life. Jordan Peterson detailed how things like having good posture and not lying are rules for life, or things objectively good for everyone no matter what they think. Objective list theories are usually what's called pluralistic, but it can also be monistic. Pluralistic meaning multiple unrelated things make one's life go well. Monistic meaning there's just one thing that, when obtained, makes one's life go best, like having knowledge, for example. The thing that separates objective list theories of well-being from all other theories of well-being and good life philosophies like hedonism, desire satisfaction theory, and preference hedonism is the idea of attitude independence, or simply put, that particular things are good or bad for people whether they have any pro or con attitude toward them. According to Peterson, my desire to not have good posture doesn't faze the notion that standing up straight will make one's life better. It's objectively good for everyone, and if they want a better life, they should adopt the practice of not slouching, regardless of how much they like to slouch. If getting a job is something objectively good, if I want to have a good life, I ought to get a job, despite how much I want to sit in my mom's basement playing video games. For the objective list theorists, your desires and beliefs about their lists don't matter. You're not allowed to devise your own list, so to speak. The items on each objective list theory are the only things good for all humans. But is objective list theory even logical? Are there any glaring fallacies or issues with it? Well, the biggest issue, I think, is the idea that for everything objectively good for someone in the world, one could argue there could be a case in which someone's life went worse because they experienced it. Let's take the experience machine example of Robert Nozick. Now, in case you don't remember, Nozick asks us if there was a machine called the experience machine, something that you could plug your brain into that would simulate the happiest reality possible for you, and you wouldn't remember that you plugged into it. Would you plug into the experience machine? Now think like the Matrix, where you're living like a blob hooked up to a computer simulator. Well, according to theory of well-being that's unobjective, like preference hedonism, you may want to, since you get to experience more happy chemicals like dopamine, oxytocin, and happy feelings during your life. But Nozick says none of us would really hook up if given the chance. We want to do and achieve certain things, he writes, instead of just experience them. We want to live our lives and be a certain kind of person instead of a blob of matter connected to a device. This suggests that meaning-making or living in reality is an objective good, and objective list theory is the superior and more rational theory of well-being. But the preference hedonist could argue back what makes someone's life good could also make it bad. Who exactly is determining what a good life is in this case? Certainly seems like an outside expert or Nozick himself is determining for someone else that entering the experience machine means they will be living a bad life. But what if entering the machine made this individual's life better? Perhaps this person was really suffering in the real world and would continue to suffer there. Nozick is not referencing that person's mental state. something only they get to do. Nozick would say that the individual in the experience machine is experiencing what philosophers call an unexperienced harm of not having real meaning, even though they mentally feel great. But just like you can theoretically have unexperienced harms to your life and feel great, you could have unexperienced benefits but feel that your life is terrible. So does having unexperienced benefits make one's life go well, even if you feel depressed or you're tricked into thinking that your life is bad? Or take the example of sticking your hand in a fire or hot stove. If there's one thing that's objectively good for us in the world, it's not sticking your hand in fire, right? A preference hedonist could say, again, sticking your hand in fire could end up making one's life better. Perhaps somewhere there could be a tribe of people who had a ritual that when a boy stuck his hand in fire, he became a man in their culture's eyes. By not sticking one's hand in the fire, he would be ridiculed and banished to the jungle to be eaten by tigers. Yes, perhaps the boy was deluded into thinking a very primitive cultural practice was important, an unexperienced harm again. But he didn't know that during his life. Just because something seems like it should be objectively good in all cases doesn't mean it is. But it seems almost irrational to think something like John Rawls' grass counter issue or Maslow's hierarchy of needs doesn't have some sort of truth to it, right? It seems like objectivist theory has to be correct on some accounts. Yet it's tricky, if not impossible, to prove logically. Now, Derek Parfit believed that the answer to living the best life possible was some sort of combination of objectivist theory and preference hedonism, but he wasn't sure and now he's dead. So in the next videos coming up, I'll be exploring if there is in fact a theory that combines these two ideas and is still logically sound, plus exploring what exactly well-being is in general. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps it rank in the YouTube algorithm over clickbait type stuff. And subscribe for more videos, including more videos on well-being, using the link in the description, and turn on the notification bell to receive updates when the new videos come out. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video.